My name's Eric Strebel, and welcome to another video of mine about industrial design. This is episode 7 of the Adventure Toy Rendering Series. Click on the screen here to watch some of the past episodes. In this episode, we're going to take a look at a PowerClix concept of a sport utility vehicle. I start this sketch out just like I start out most of the other ones, with some sort of a good, solid underlay so that my perspective is correct. I do this by taking a photograph of some of the toy parts that I snap together and use that to create a good composition and a nice view. I've traced the photograph into my sketchbook and I'm able to start laying down some marker. I've already got the ground plane shadow and the wheels put in, and so I can start right away on the color. And I block in the basic color of the vehicle first. I want this sort of Tonka truck yellow, but I find that it's too bright for this adventure vehicle, and I want to dull it down a little bit and make it look a little bit more used and rugged. So I knock that color back by adding a gray value marker on there, and then I come back in and I add the darker values to the side of the objects that are on the right. My light is coming from the left. You can see my shadow is going off to the right here, and so the objects on the right side of the vehicle are going to be a little bit darker. Next, I do in the glass. It has a huge front glass windscreen, and I use some cool gray markers of varying value to show that the glass wraps away from us and has a little bit of curvature. I also do the little shadow underneath the little sun visor. I come back in here and I erase out some of the pencil lines so that they're not so able to be seen when you put the marker on top of it. Add a little bit more value in the window, and now I head to the exhaust. You'll note the exhaust system is part of the mechanical snap together system that holds the vehicle together. The PowerClix are probably not strong enough to hold themselves together by magnetic force alone. They need some mechanical reinforcement, and the system that makes up the grille and where the wheels are also snap into the side of the PowerClix to hold the vehicle together. So this is part of the design of the vehicle, and it's needed to make the PowerClix strong enough to actually be a toy that you could push around on the floor. This is a pretty important part of the design. So when I'm designing a concept or a toy like this from an existing product, I need to think about the design or the mechanical part that holds the toy together so that it can actually be used in a different way than it was intended. Here, I'm working on some of the details. I just finished up the chrome guard around the exhaust pipe. So if you were getting in and out of this vehicle in real life, you wouldn't want to burn yourself on the exhaust. So it's a nice little bit of chrome, a little shininess. I add in the shadow that is cast by those exhausts onto the vehicle as well to add a little bit more realistic effect. Now I'm coming in and I'm outlining the shapes so that they start to pop off the page and read a little bit more toy-like. You can start to see the definition of the actual parts. This is important so that my client can see how many PowerClix or parts, existing components, would be used in the production of a vehicle like this. They want to make sure that they don't use too many. They have quantities that they'll list ahead of time. So there are some important things that you have to keep in mind when you're designing a product sometimes, and these are some of the issues that you have to deal with as a designer. You do have to problem solve. Sometimes they are simple production problems. Sometimes they are mechanical problems that need to be solved, where you don't need to get an engineer involved, but you do need to have some sort of idea of mechanics and how things work and go together. It's pretty common for an industrial designer to have to solve those kind of problems on your own. So that is a good thing to know and be mechanically inclined. In the past, I've done the wheels first. In this case, I was a little unsure about how exactly I wanted to finish the wheels and what sort of detail they were going to have. Obviously, I got to the end of the sketch and I needed to finish the wheels in some sort of way, and I settled on this design. It's a 5-spoke, probably a stamped steel wheel, to give it a simple, rugged kind of look. You'll notice I put all the detail in the front wheel, and the back one gets very little. I'm using a little bit of that atmospheric perspective to help me make things easier. The back wheel is basically the same as the front, so it doesn't need to be illustrated. Here it is, all finished up, slightly touched up in Photoshop, increase the contrast, that sort of thing, to make it a little more punchy. It looks pretty nice, and I'm happy with that. I'm going to call it a day on this one. If you have any toy concepts that need to be designed, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always interested and eager to work on toys. If you like this episode, come back next week and we're going to take a look at this insane monster race truck. It's also a PowerClix concept. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can click on the little icon on the bottom right of the screen to do that. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. Rock on.